You've tuned into Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. We've got a bombshell report for you, ladies and gentlemen. People have been wondering why so many cases of madness, pure madness. We're going to be looking at the videos. We're going to be looking at a new scientific publication by the Institute Pasteur in France that identifies rabies mixed along with this virus. And what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means that this is absolutely 100% a Chimera strain, and the fact that rabies and HIV is mixed into this confirms that this is a bioweapon. This is why it's not being picked up in the tests. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some very bombshell information to project out there, so stay tuned for everything. You don't want to miss a minute of this broadcast. Truly amazing information that we're about to share with you right now. Stay tuned as we prepare for the video guy, and of course we're going to be getting into the steering of this outbreak through the telecommunications networks, ladies and gentlemen. And where, oh where, shall we begin? Here. The video guy is temporarily on vacation. Yes. We just published on our website and through our Twister feed. Researchers publish an article in the Biology Reports of the Academy of Sciences, which postulates a central role of the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. Ladies and gentlemen, nicotinic, like nicotine. This is the pathway for the buzz, if you will, the cigarette buzz. Now, this is originally published in French, translated here in English. We're going to show you the publication. You can find the link here and translate it for yourself. This is the original article from the Institute Pasteur, Sorbonne University, Paris, Academy of Science, etc. So this is a bona fide report that was just published yesterday. And we're going to read the translated version for you because it's very interesting, to say the least. Here's the translated version. There we go. Obviously, the video guy's on vacation. So the title here is The Hypothesis of the Central Role of the Receptor Acetylcholine and its Implications for Preventative and Therapeutic Care. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but we do want to highlight this paragraph here if we can, or this sentence. Oh, the Google. Okay, we'll just highlight rabies for you then. And we'll start at this line here. In addition, for fuck's sakes, I hate Google. I hate those fuckers. In addition, the SARS-CoV-2 envelope exhibits a loop with a sequence similar to a motif present on the rabies virus glycoprotein. And this is what we've been saying since the beginning, is that this virus exhibits rabies-like symptoms. You saw people basically trying to break out of their quarantine cell in China. I'm not sure if we've got the video of that right now, but we've played it over and over again. And in fact, if you've been watching this broadcast since the beginning, the accuracy of our description of this virus has been beyond exceptional. I don't want to blow our own horn here, but it's actually pretty frightening. And it's got not only traces of the rabies, but HIV as well. So the intent here of mixing SARS with rabies and HIV is absolutely, 100% proof that this is a bioweapon. Now, it's important, we want to also highlight this sentence here. Of course, it's very difficult with the Google, but we'll read this. The high prevalence of neuropsychiatric manifestations during COVID-19, which is the disease, not the virus, right, is in favor of a neurotropism of SARS-CoV-2, which spreads from the mucosa of the olfactory and then the neurons from the brain stem, and it infects the spinal cord. Now, where did we get this information from? We were just talking about this a couple of days ago. Where did we get that information from? We got it from this biology and pathogenesis textbook. Remember, we were talking about this yesterday in yesterday's broadcast. We've brought this up before. Now, if we go down to here, the encephalomyelitis, right, the infection of the myelin sheath, kind of like MS, it says the coronavirus can cause encephalitis, et cetera, causing acute and chronic demyelinating disease. It attacks or invades the central nervous system via the olfactory nerve in the nasal mucosa and spreading to the spinal cord. So this is one of the systemic ways that it actually attacks the person. You know, you've heard of it attacking the brain, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, right? And you hear about people losing their sense of smell. That's the olfactory nerve. So, you know, it's like every other coronavirus, exactly like it's in the textbook, you know, and they're acting like, oh, they don't know what's going on. Now, we talked yesterday, not sure if we're going to be able to find page 7 again, over here, page 7. But yesterday we talked about how this coronavirus or coronavirus infections are often subclinical, which means asymptomatic, but clinical disease can be activated by co-infection with leukemia-causing agents. And what do we know that causes leukemia? Death towers, right? So I would say right now, 99% certainty that they're steering this epidemic with the death towers. And the reason that, you know, New York got hit huge, but San Francisco and Seattle didn't, is because this is part of the pandemic. This is part of the schedule. Because again, San Francisco and Seattle are the gateways into America from Asia. That's where most of the trans-Pacific flights land. I mean, that's probably like a 15-hour flight, 12-hour flight from Beijing to San Francisco. People want to land. And so if anywhere would have got hit, it would have been San Francisco and Seattle. But the fact that, you know, we saw like the most undesirable locations get hit, like the outer boroughs of New York and New Orleans, tells us that these people are being targeted. And we're seeing this in other countries too. It's like the most undesirable neighborhoods that are being activated. Mostly, you know, black populations and the like. But this absolutely confirms what we've been suspecting. Now, what's really interesting about this paper, again, published by Institut Pasteur, which is a very well-known, laboratory, research laboratory, as well as Sorbonne University, Paris University. What's also interesting here, and we'll read this maybe in the translation. I'm not sure if we're back in. Yeah, we're back in there. And what they're talking about here is that nicotine actually blocks and protects people from the neuropsychotropic effects of this virus. It may not necessarily help the respiratory infections, but once, you know, this virus goes systemic, this may protect against the neurological aspects of it. And so that's something that you're probably not going to see a whole lot in the news for quite some time, is that smokers are protected from this virus. Don't ask me why I'm laughing there. But obviously, there's a lot here to unravel. But this again is confirmed. This should be like the big blazing front page headlines everywhere. Airborne AIDS/rabies SARS virus infects the world, activated by death towers, brought to you by China and the New World Order. Again, all of these countries let it in. They made sure that people didn't have, the masks or the PPE to protect themselves. Everybody would get infected. They let this thing just march on through, right? And that was like the first ingredient to this binary time bomb. What's a binary agent? Anybody know? What's binary mean? It means it takes two. It's kind of like a failsafe. How do you control this outbreak? You activate it. We've talked about, what the research papers say about deactivating coronavirus, which is hydrogen peroxide. But of course, you can only take that as a topical type of disinfectant. You can't inject hydrogen peroxide. Don't even try. Don't try to drink it. All right. But we're also learning some other interesting things, like raising your pH may deactivate the replication cycle a little bit, or at least slow it down, as well as other natural antivirals like Spirulina and Selenium and the like, and perhaps beta-glucan glucans as well from yeast that they use in beer production. But we'll get into that. But this is a very bombshell report, not only in the sense that smokers are protected to a certain extent, but also that this is hybrid chimera crossed with rabies as well as HIV. I mean, this is some pretty bombshell information here. So like and share, get this information out there. Of course, right now it's only in French. How long will it take before, the English press, American press picks this up and actually talks about it? It'll probably be never. They never talked about the HIV components of this virus, so they'll probably never talk about the rabies aspect of this virus either. But I think it's important that we do look at that. What happened to the video guy? The video guy is fired. Tired of the video guy. But we've got, oh, hold on. This is a nice little video of them faking the reboot in China. They're filming this scene where people are at work in a factory, and then we see that it's just this little area and the rest of the factory is empty, and you can see the movie tracks and the like. There's a lot we don't know, but people are going apeshit crazy. I know we got more videos. Yeah, here's in the UK. I'm not sure if we got any audio here, but perhaps we can get some. Now, you might think this is an isolated crackhead incident, but we're actually seeing a lot of crazy shit, pardon the language, associated with this virus. And you might think it's just, cabin fever, but we saw a lot of crazy stuff, especially early on in the outbreak. This is a classic. But, people that were basically, jumping off buildings, hanging themselves at the playground. I'm not sure how many people watched all of our broadcasts, but, these videos, there's just some videos that you'll never forget. Like the lady hanging herself at the playground, people jumping off buildings, people burning, their apartment alive while they're locked in. And many other really deranged videos, people trying to escape quarantine, and that's why they put the cell bars on their makeshift hospitals. You didn't see any at the Javits Center. And even look at Boris Johnson. I mean, he looks batshit crazy.
Yeah, sure.
Have a cup of tea.
Thank you. Do you regret your comments? Do you regret your comments?
Have a cup of tea.
Thank you very much. Will you apologise for your comments?
Will you have a cup of tea?
Will you apologise for your
Would you
comments?
like a cup of tea?
Yeah, sure.
Have a cup of tea.
Thank you. Do you regret Do
You
you
like this
regret?
competition.
Do you regret your comments?
You know what I mean? I mean, that's scary, man. That's the first video I've seen of Boris Johnson since the whole episode, and he looks like he's gone, man. You know, there's a reason why they're keeping him out in the out in the country, but it's causing people to go batshit crazy. So this is like a brain-wasting disease on top of everything else. And I think, you know, well, this video here is, it looks like, you know, more people dropping dead. So the question is, you know, why is it so severe in China and Iran, you know, our enemies, and not as severe in America? Why is it way more severe in New York than in San Francisco or Seattle? And so logic tells us if this was just a classic outbreak, it would be much worse in California. And, you know, especially with all the homeless in San Francisco and all that, I mean, we'd expect to see, you know, dead bodies everywhere. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such things ye do. People worship the state, they worship the television, they worship, you know, basically everything that is secular and official, and making that their religion. Thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. Evil things, pride, blasphemy. Ladies and gentlemen, how often do you see this in our daily life? You know, when I look at the press briefings, when I look at government officials, politicians, these are the kind of things that I look for. You can tell them by their fruits, ladies and gentlemen. Mark. How long has it been since you've read the gospel according to Mark? Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein. Remember to be innocent out there. And of course, the communists in California, they're banning all content that doesn't go with the script. Not only them, but fake book. Lockdown protests are misinformation. Fake book will ban organizers. I mean, these are communist Chinese operatives in America. They're funded and paid for by China. And so, you know, they push their communist propaganda out there and control the narrative. This is a very dangerous situation, ladies and gentlemen. All of these people should be sent back to China in giant slave ships. All of these communists and socialists in our country. We've got many more news articles to cover. But the big one here is definitely that this virus, this Wuhan supervirus, is cut or split with rabies and HIV. And, you know, early on in the investigation or the decoding of this virus, they were seeing, you know, HIV codes in the virus. And it was really weird. They gave it HIV legs. And at first, you know, the scientific community came out and said, oh, there's just no way. But in fact, that's exactly what happened here. Now, this is actually the smoking gun paper where you see the Wuhan Institute of Virology splicing HIV into SARS in 2007. So all of this is on our website, stfnreport.com, all of it. Be sure to check that out. For those thinking that mixing HIV and SARS to create a chimera virus or pseudovirus is something from a dystopian science fiction novel, think again, here it is. So, you know, we've got this exact same kind of virus, but what we didn't know until now, for sure, is that this thing is spliced with rabies as well. According to this article from the Institute of Pasteur. That's like pasteurization. Louis Pasteur. So a very accredited, very well-known research institute. So for sure we got HIV and we got rabies in this virus. And it's being triggered by radio frequency. It's like, you know, a radio detonation, right? You've heard of improvised explosive device where they'll detonate it with a cell phone. They'll just call in. That's what's happening with this virus. Now, we had somebody ask in the comments earlier about Spain. Do they have 5G in Spain? Now, as far as we can tell, 5G is not necessary, but must, amplify the effects because, okay, the video guy is just so on vacation. But we know that 5G was activated in Wuhan at around the same time that this virus was released from the lab, quite literally within days, if not the exact same day. And so 5G seems to be, necessary. Now we've got a map. Not sure what the video guy is doing here. We've got a map of the situation out there in Spain. And we can see that, in fact, they've got a little purple in Madrid, which represents 5G through the Vodafone network. So it looks like it's just starting to show up there. So we can see that there's distinct neighborhoods. And so usually these are choke points. People will have to go through here and they'll get activated as they drive through, as they go shopping. And we can see that there's some corridors, around the beltway of Madrid and other little sectors to activate. So Madrid has got 5G, even though we don't think they have a full rollout of 5G yet. Barcelona, another hotbed, has the 5G confirmed. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And